art is in the building today. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Formal education does help you with a lot of the principles, you know, the foundation of drawing, the foundations of painting, color theory. In terms of a graffiti career, I don't think my parents were like too keen on that. They were like, let him get a degree in something.
Each of you as an artist, you are a brand. We've got some of the best artists on this continent.
It's just a natural thing. Like when you go there, you meet some guys, you hang out a little bit. I mean, that's how I did it, or that's how it's always worked for me.
And ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you guys to put your hands together in the best way you ever have for Mars? Mars, where does the name, firstly, Mars come from?
So the name was not anything like that I put too much thought into. In fact, like when we were younger, I was, I went out with a friend of mine and we painted this abandoned house, right? And I didn't know anything about graffiti. I was in my early teens. I just know that at the time we were drawing like these alien characters that were quite popular. Okay. So I did the alien face and I thought like, yeah, that's cool, but it's not graffiti because it doesn't have a word next to it. Mm-hmm. And then I was like speaking to my friend, like, what should I write next to it to make it more graffiti and more edgy? And, at the time we were super creative. So we thought, okay, aliens come from Mars and I'm just going to write like Mars on the wall next to the alien. Yeah. So that's kind of the origin story. It's nothing too crazy. Yeah. And it's just kind of stuck with me now for the last, 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, man.
Jeez, that is a while to be putting in the work. And I want us to go back to like where it started, right? From my understanding, you actually studied graphic design.
I was always like into graffiti and into like drawing and stuff like that. And I wanted to find out like I didn't know anything about design either. I was a teenager. No, nothing. I mean, you tell a teenager like, do you want to be a graphic designer? Most people don't even know what that is. So, yeah. They told me, okay, you can study design or film or art school or something like that. So I thought, okay, let me take my chances. I'm going to study multimedia design because that's kind of like creative. Yeah. So yeah, after high school, I went and studied design for 3 years. And then after that, I worked like kind of in the design industry.
And would you say that the qualification element is it important when it comes to actually building a career in the design space?
So yes, it is. I think it is. A lot of the guys, they follow a similar path. They drawing as kids, as youngsters. We've always liked art in school and stuff like that and being creative. And from there, you take it and you enroll and do a formal education where you learn a lot of stuff that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. Like, yes, you can nowadays. It's not necessarily as important, and there's a lot of artists who have done it without that. But then you need to put in the time to learn by yourself, right? And it is much more accessible now than it was when I was in school. So now there's, YouTubes of people doing graffiti and murals, and they'll show you step by step how they do it, and they'll tell you. But, formal education does help you with a lot of the principles, the foundation of drawing, the foundations of painting, color theory, all the technical stuff you'll learn there. And I must be honest with you, I wasn't the best student, and I look back now.
Why do you say that?
I was just more interested in painting graffiti, right? I just kind of studied that, like I said, because I thought that was like kind of the closest thing to graffiti. But looking back now, when I get projects, I'm like, damn, man, I should have paid more attention because I actually learned about this 20 years ago in school. Yeah, like for real. Like sometimes things like that will pop up and I'll relearn it because I'll look on YouTube or whatever. And I'm like, I actually learned this, but it'll bring back the memory, but I didn't pay as much attention as I could have. But I mean, I was a young man. So.
Do you know, like, when starting out, do you have like an idea of your most memorable, like, art piece that you've done that was like, whether it was your first one or your biggest one? Do you have any memory of that?
So in the beginning, I think a lot of it was just figuring stuff out and getting into graffiti and seeing like how things work. Some of the most memorable ones were like, even though they were really bad, it was just like when maybe the first time I got to do a commission. Like that was super, super cool, you know, because all of a sudden it was something that I loved doing and I got money for it, you know.
Oh, man,
and
nice.
I was like, oh,
nice.
wow, like maybe there is like a future in doing this.
I can imagine that within the graffiti space, in the art space, whether we like it or not, it's a very expensive space, right? Learning the art is very expensive. Even getting the tools sometimes can be very expensive. Was that something that was a challenge for you to get access to, be able to do those things? Or it was kind of like you had the right friends, maybe that also putting money together and going tagging together?
Yeah, look, I mean, resources is in the beginning when you're an artist. I mean, I guess you are broke. I mean, it's not easy in the beginning, right? I was fortunate that my family did put me through an education, right?
Yeah.
So I was very lucky in that because I know not everyone gets that opportunity. In terms of a graffiti career, I don't think my parents were like too keen on that. They were like, let him get a degree in something, you know, just in case, you know, and they didn't know like that. I didn't even know that one day this was something I was going to be doing. But yeah, I think in the beginning you have to hustle, man. And if you can, like, yeah, you need to lean on people around you.
I think when you're in the arts, one of the hardest conversations to have is with your parents that this is what I'm going to be doing, right? Whether you are a musician, whether you are in the graffiti space. How was that for you? Was it like you were able to go to them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and they were supportive? Or was it like, I'm not really going to tell them until I've kind of like figured it out?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, for me anyway, they weren't like super supportive just because it was so new. I don't know now how parents are for the youngsters, but for me to be doing stuff with a spray can on a wall, they were like, no, dude, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, go out there and get a real job and do this and do that. And so that is, again, why they pushed me to, like, study something. Like, even though they didn't, you know, I'm sure all parents want their kids to be lawyers and doctors and all of that, but they were just like, you know what, just get, like, any degree so you can get a job. They were at that point.
And did you spend time, like, actually doing, like, did you get a job or?
Yeah, so after that, I worked as a designer for a couple of years.
Okay.
I worked in different industries, like in like fashion and also like in a factory designing inflatables and freelance graphic design work for like a company that did radio stuff. But yeah, little jobs here and there for like a couple of years. And then I guess one day, some of you guys here might remember the Sprite competition. So they used to run a competition with Sprite, right? It was like for 2 or 3 years. And they had like the best graffiti artist, the best dancer, and the best rapper. So on this is my final year of work officially. Sprite approached me and they said, okay, we're going to give you X amount to be like the judge this year. You have to do a little bit of work every month. And that amount was like as much as my paycheck for the whole year. To be fair, it wasn't a lot, right? Like I was a junior designer. The paycheck was not anything special.
Jeez, man. And that risk could not have been easy, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I didn't think about it. I mean, it could have been, in retrospect, it could have been a huge mistake. But
Yeah.
I think if you are younger, you can do things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't do that now. You know, I have responsibilities. So I'm not just going to up and quit my job. But during that time, for me, it made sense. You know, it was just a gamble. And I thought, you know, I don't want to be sitting designing all the time behind a computer. I want to be out there. I want to be painting walls. I want to be experiencing different things every day. And to be fair, I was also like a really horrible employee. Like you wouldn't want me working for you. Like I wasn't good at working for someone.
Yeah.
I would just do the minimum and get by. So I think it made sense and it had to work, you know.
I do think when you are a creative, you find yourself being a horrible employee. Naturally, you just come in there and like trying to get the job done and then keep it moving. But would you say there are any like experiences or any soft skills that you maybe have that learned in that being in the workspace and doing the corporate that you kind of still like apply now that you are your own brand and own business?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think it's important just to always be open to learning something. You know what I mean? Like there's every day, even now, I'm still learning stuff.
Well, as a creative, right? whether you're a podcaster, musician, do I go to the brands, right? Or do I put in the work and kind of like wait for the brands to come to me? Do you have any advice, or for you personally, how did it go for you? Was it brands coming to you or campaigns coming to you, or you pitching, sending emails, finding LinkedIn's, or?
Ah, man. So, yeah, I was discussing this with someone just now, and I think probably, when I first registered myself as a business, right, it was hard, man. There was not a lot of campaigns. There was not a lot of things going on in this space. So I made a lot of noise, right? So I do, and I still do. I make a lot of like paintings that I do for myself, right? Like what we considered free work, but it's still work.
Yeah.
You're practicing, you're putting stuff out there, and you're creating things that might not pay right now, but will eventually, because someone will see that and be like, okay, cool, I want something similar for X, Y, and Z, for an event, a brand, whatever the case, right? So I haven't approached brand, like I don't know if that works, if you can just call up the marketing manager of ABSA and be like, hey, I have a good idea. You know what I mean? I don't know if that'll work. I mean, it might work for some. I haven't done it, but I've made noise where people have seen, right?
Okay.
And I think probably the trick is to be like, hey, look, I'm over here. I've got something and I've got billable skills and you can hire me if you want this too, right?
I think also, most of us don't know how to approach brands. Most of us don't know how to approach the corporates. I know a lot of people that walk into the space that are musicians, that are content creators, that are graffiti artists. One of the questions that we get the most is, how do I price myself, right? Because when you, it sounds so easy to do, to say, just put a price on it, but one part of you doesn't not want to let the client run away. Another part of you is like, but you have all this built up, whether it's debt, whether it's things that you need to get.
Yeah, okay, so it's a bit of both, right? I think there'll be times when you'll be able to ask for what you think you're worth. There'll be times when the client will say, I have X amount, and you must decide then if you want to do it or you don't want to do it. And I think this is like where majority of it is some negotiation somewhere in between, right? So as an artist, right, I don't know how rappers charge or fashion designers, but generally as designers, I think they charge per hour.
Yeah.
As a graffiti artist or mural artist or street artist, you can charge per square meter or on time. So mine would be more on the time side of things, depending on detail, because I wouldn't want, you can spend a week painting a 1 meter by 1 meter canvas, right? But then you can also spend one day painting a 12 meter by 2 meter wall, depending on the detail. So I'd normally charge by time and like by skills required, which means like, am I gonna sit there and paint myself, because that's gonna be more, or do you want something a bit more simplistic, because that's gonna be less? And this is where the negotiation comes in. And generally, and I'm gonna tell you right now, for guys who wanna be artists and who really wanna make this work, and I can see there's a lot of talent here, just looking at that wall. There's a lot of guys here who can make this happen. I think you're always going to go a little bit above and beyond, right? That's what you want to do. So you don't just want to like, I get it. Sometimes the money's not going to be great, right? And it's going to be an uphill battle, but just go a little bit extra, Maybe you want to be done in 1 day. That's fine. Just come a half a day the next day just to add in those extras. Because maybe you only build for like 1 day, but it's not 100%. You could make it a bit better. Just do a little bit more, Okay. You don't have to kill yourself, but it goes a long way.
Would you say now that, with all the work you've done, right, is collaboration something that you are still open to? I know you probably don't have as much time now as before, but if there's a project and someone wants to collaborate, right, is this something that you're still open to?
Look, as graffiti artists, we're quite like social. Despite being antisocial, we do a lot of social stuff. Like we get together and we paint walls for fun, like how people go play golf or whatever hobbies they do. So those are kind of collaborations. informal collaborations, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like formal collaborations with artists, I haven't done many. Overall, I haven't done many, but I'm not close to it either, you know. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. So in case someone wants to
yeah. Look, I mean,
shoot their shot like the lady over there, there's a possibility. We're gonna have Paul join us from APSA. So can you guys please give Mars a round of applause? I have Paul with me. Paul's from APSA, but for those who don't know, Paul, can you let the audience know who you are and what you do at APSA?
Thanks, Lim, and afternoon. Good to see you all. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit old here, I must be honest.
Not that bad, not that bad.
I'm definitely not a banker, so let's go there. I'm APSA's art curator, so everything art, creative related, I manage APSA's art portfolio literally across the continent. So I do have the opportunity to meet with many artists, creatives, both in South Africa and across the 12 countries where APSA has a presence in Africa.
Jeez. And how long have you been doing that?
I had hair at one stage.
All right. So
23 years.
Jeez. Oh, that is incredible. That is incredible. So, you know, when it comes to the creative space, right, there is quite a gap between the passion and the profit, those who make money and don't make money. Why do you think there is a gap like that? Why do you think there's a struggle?
I think the first point is, and let me ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you are artists out here? Raise a hand. Okay, there we go as well. We've had a chat. And my question to each of you as artists, I'm a curator. Yes, I sit within a corporate. How do I know that each of you actually exist? What are you doing to make yourselves to someone like aware to someone like me? That's the question I'm throwing out. And if I do not know that you exist, that is where you're falling short in terms of how you manage it. And as an artist, so often you're very inwardly focused. You're focused on your building, creating the artwork, finishing that work. But you're not as much focused in building your brand and getting yourself out there. And as much as you spend in terms of creating that perfect work, you need to spend as much time and effort in focusing outward, looking outward. And that's often in terms of my discussion with many artists. They do absolutely phenomenal work. And we've got some of the best artists on this continent, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But we're not telling our story and getting it out there.
At what point should a creative make that shift, right? Where it's like, it's not just about what I'm doing, but what about we doing? What about building something that is of a legacy? At what point should they make that shift in terms of mentality?
I think immediately. All of you are doing your hustles on a daily basis. But as you're hustling, you're creating a foundation.
Mm.
How do you now build on that foundation every day? And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to be like that kid that touches that hot stove and burns your fingers. And if you don't, then there's a problem because you're going to make those mistakes. And it's not about the mistakes you make. Don't make them the second time.
Yeah.
Pick yourself up, learn from it, and move on. And that's the important thing. And it's a journey. It's not about for me, and I'll be criticized, Slim, it's not about the destination.
For sure.
It's about the journey that you go on to get to where you ultimately want to be.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you see a lot of artists, you work with a lot of artists, you get a lot of artists that pitch to you. What would you say is the biggest mistake that a lot of artists make right now?
Not believing in themselves.
Oh.
Your gut is never wrong. Believe in yourself. If you think that work is not good enough, then it's not good enough. Then burn it and start again. And I can tell you the likes of Penny Ethiopias, Diane Victor, and I can Marcus Schiafanelli, and I can Mary Sabanda, they would tell you the same thing. Believe, but believe in your own ability. Follow tell your story, and remain authentic to yourself. Be true. And don't be scared. Just because I might look like an old person dressed in a suit, just missing the tie, doesn't mean you can't come up to me afterwards and say, by the way, I'm so-and-so. You need to know who I am. You need to know me. I'm this young artist that you're going to see one day in 20 years' time, and I want to tell you my story today. Make yourself visible.
What would you say is like, what's the first step from here for a creator, for an artist who's a beginner, right? What is the first step to say, from here, I'm motivated, I'm ready to go. What is the first step to launch yourself?
One of the things that we've been doing as APSA, we've supported the APSA L'Atelier. It's an art competition. You can go Google it, L'Atelier. It's studio in French, it means studio in French.
How do you say it?
L'Atelier.
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 All right.
APSA L'Atelier. If you just go Google APSA art competition, it will lead you there.
Yeah.
We've been running it for 40 years.
Jeez.
We supported it across the continent. Many unknown artists. You have to be 21 until 40.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in that age group, you may enter. Whether you're professionally trained, self-taught, photographer, sculptor, painter, printmaker, you may enter that competition. Make the use of opportunities because, yes, like any competition, there can only be one winner. But by entering such things, you're putting your hand up and you're saying, I'm Paul, I exist, I'm here. And we track the people that enter. We might have commissions coming on, we might have clients wanting work. And we go back, oh yes, I remember that work from that young man. He didn't win it, but you suddenly get a notice and we might come back to you where we will reach out. So it's one way of actually showing up. We're doing a call now, I can tell you, we're renovating we've just built a new head office in Ghana.
All right.
5 stories. Lots, fantastic building, state of the art. And like every building's got all these empty walls.
Yeah.
And we're currently doing a call to every artist in Ghana that has entered the L'Atelier. Submit work to us.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Paul.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's amazing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sibo Mokwena. Multidisciplinary artist. I'll shoot straight to the question. When you don't find needle, I hope this isn't too technical, but when you don't find needle point caps, I've gone to Shelf Life from Cape Town to Rosebank to Grayscale. No one ever has. What do you do to get like the finest spray possible?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So needle caps, I don't think they bring them. They don't bring them here. In South Africa, they don't have that nozzle yet. So we're still missing quite a couple of those nozzles and all those fancy things you see on Instagram and on YouTube and people doing it. But you can get really thin lines, right? I mean, it's still possible. Maybe not necessarily needle thin, but if you use like the normal green nozzle, here's the trick. If you turn the can upside down and let the pressure out, I don't know if you know about that one. Yeah, so let it out till there's nothing in there, and that's probably when you're going to get like your best lines possible. I mean, we just don't get that nozzle here, unfortunately, unless you bring it in yourself.
Flip it upside down, spray.
Hold it for like 3 minutes.
Okay.
No paint's going to come out, only the gas.
And then?
And the gas is what propels it to go really fast. So once the gas is out, the paint comes out slower and less.
Shout out.
Yeah.
How did you even find that? How did you know that? How did you get there?
So I didn't invent that. That's like a thing that's been passed down for like the last 50 years from. So there's a lot of stuff like that gets passed down between graffiti people and.
So yeah, by the way, my name is Steve Cray. I'm an artist, muralist, rapper, and all stuff like that. I got what I needed from Nasty last time I was here. Now I want a mirrorless type-based question, you know. So, judging from, like, I'll say, my own endeavors and journey and stuff like that I went through with murals, I'm pretty good at, like, sales, communication and stuff like that. So I'm good at getting clients locally. And outside, I say I got like 3 to 4. Now I do things like going door to door, also reaching them out online and stuff like that. But I want to know, how do I like get the big guys, like the companies and stuff like that, via middle gigs and stuff?
Hey man, yeah, that's a good question, dude. I think you're doing pretty well. If you're getting some clients and you're going door to door and it's working for you, I think that's like really cool, man. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily always work for people. In terms of the big guys, I think again you have to make noise, man. If you make enough noise, they'll come to you. And like the gentleman before me said, use all those opportunities, the competitions, just wherever there's an opportunity and you see like big brands, just go for it, man. I still do competitions. You know, I did a competition 2 years ago, or a year ago even. So use those avenues, man.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, man.
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. I am an illustrator and a printmaker. So I've been very curious as to how does one go about immersing themselves in the world of graffiti when they have absolutely no idea how to start, where to begin, and all these other technicalities or intricacies that actually go into creating artwork on a wall. And my second question, or my last question rather, is when you collaborate with brands, do you retain the copyright, or is that being shared with the brand that you're creating work for?
Yeah, those are good questions. So to get into like the graffiti scene, it can be a bit tricky, man. But I think there is like graffiti jams going on. There is people doing things. There's graffiti stores. There's one in Rosebank. There's one in Braamfontein where you can buy the paint. And they often have like jams and shows and stuff like that. And I think it's just a natural thing. Like if you go there, you meet some guys, you hang out a little bit. I mean, that's how I did it, or that's how it's always worked for me. It wasn't like something that I consciously thought of, but just, you know, the path will kind of form once you start going into those kind of spaces and speaking with the people, right? I'm sorry, there's no like clear-cut answer to that. Okay. But, and then in terms of the copyright, I think for the most part, like whenever I do commercial work, it belongs mostly to the client. It's, you know, what they want to do with it for the most part is it's theirs. You know, I do it, but then it's yours, you know, you paid for it.
Do you build your, like, in terms of getting paid, do you get money straight as an artist, or do you have a business that the money goes through?
Yeah, so, yeah, that's a good question. There's a few ways you can do it. What I did is I registered a business, and I think most guys doing it professionally would do this. It's not difficult, it's not very expensive, and then you're good, you know, because a lot of, and this is something I'll tell you guys, is a lot of the brands, they need those documents. They need to see that you're a registered business. They need to see you paying tax. They need to see that you've got a bank confirmation letter. They need to see all these things before they give you any money, because they're not trying to deal with dodgy people, right? And it's not to say you're dodgy, it's just to say that you might not necessarily have all those things. So getting that is definitely going to help you with the big corporates that you want, because they all want that without fail.
I think that would be the wrap of our masterclass today. Mars, I just really want to say thank you on the behalf of the ABSA team, on the behalf of the M team, and the behalf of everybody here today. I think this was super insightful. I really love the way we were able to balance out the technical things with also the business elements of things, and the amazing work that you're doing, man. So we just want to say thank you for taking the time to be here. Much appreciated. And guys, don't disappoint me. Can we please give a round of applause for Mars? Thanks, bro. Thank you so much, brother.